Welcome to this lecture. Let's now assume that you are in the interview room and your interviewer is about to ask you a question. What I'm going to share with you right now is to be aware of the different types of questions that the interviewer could ask you and how to structure your answer depending on the type of question that you are asked. Firstly, acknowledge that you have applied to a position. And that position has what is known as a job specification sheet. That job specification sheet has a list of criteria which makes for the ideal candidate for that position. It has a list of traits, personality characteristics. It has a list of technical skills that make you ideal for that position. And I'm hoping that you have sight of this job specification sheet before you go into the interview. Why is this important? Because as humans, we have over 4,500 personality traits, of which the interviewer is picking out a few of these that make for the ideal candidate for that role. You want to be able to know precisely what those skills are before you go into the interview room, because the questions are going to be based all around these skills. Once you know these skills, you can prepare in advance by understanding your background and just picking out relevant job experiences or life experiences that you could share with the interviewer that shows them that you have an understanding or experience with that skill. How does the interviewer do this? They do so by asking you one of three types of questions. One is a simple, straightforward question. The second is what is known as a competency-based question. And the third is a hypothetical question. If you are asked a simple, straightforward question, it usually starts off with one of these words. Who, what, where, when, why, do you, are you, tell me. If you are asked a simple, straightforward question, your response is a simple answer. As an example, who inspired you growing up? You answer the question with a bit of an explanation. Or they could ask you, what academic courses did you like the most or the least? And again, it's a simple, straightforward answer. That's that type of question. The second type of question is known as a competency-based question. Now, a competency-based question usually is trying to figure out a particular trait, and they're looking for your experience to display that trait. An example of this question could be, can you tell us about a time when you seized an opportunity and ran with it? Now, it's very subtle, but what they're actually looking for is your self-initiative, your ability to motivate yourself. They could also be assessing your project management skills in that question. Let's look at another question. Describe the toughest group that you've managed to get to truly cooperate. In that question, they could be testing and assessing your collaboration skills, your team management skills, your ability to work within a team. A third question, give me an example of when your persistence had the biggest payoff. And because they use the word persistence, that's what they're assessing. When you are responding to a competency-based question, I'm going to ask you to follow the structure of how you watch a movie. When you watch a movie is divided into 4 separate parts. First, a movie has some context. It introduces characters. Then the movie moves into a challenge. Then there's a resolution to the challenge, with finally a conclusion and an overall summary. So let's look at an example when I have this competency-based question. Give me an example of a time when you went above and beyond the call of duty to get a job done. So using the movie format, you would start off by giving some context. You could say something like, well, back when I was in university, I was part of a project with 4 other team members. This was in the first half of our 3rd year, academic year. And in that project, now you're moving on to the challenge, in that project, we all started working very well until a key member in that team fell ill. And what was needed was for the rest of us in the team to step in and to take over his work in his absence. Move on to resolution. How we resolved this, it was challenging for me at the time. But what I did was I reorganized my schedule. Instead of going for afternoon lectures, I went for the morning lectures. I started going out in the afternoon to those companies to conduct those research and complete the interviews on my team members' behalf. We also met more often as team members, and so you'll describe whatever it is that you did. And then you move on to the moral of what you have learned. When I reflect back on that experience, what I learned about myself is, and then you share with them what it is that you've learned. Perhaps you've learned how to manage your timelines or deal with pressure, or maybe be a little bit more calm under situations. So whatever that learning is, you need to finish off a competency-based question with lessons learned or some summary of what you have taken out of that experience. So when you are answering competency-based questions, first look to live examples in your work experience. If, as an example, they're asking you a question on collaboration with teams and you've never been a manager, then it's going to be hard for you to find those examples. In that instance, I will ask you to find relevant examples in your personal life. Maybe in your personal life, you were in charge of putting together the bridal shower on behalf of your sister or your cousin in your family. And by you being in charge of that, it showed your leadership skills and it showed your ability to bring people together. So by all means, you can use those similar type of examples. If you are using personal examples like that, then just share that with the interviewer and say, I don't have any relevant work experience on this, but I am going to share something in my personal life. And so you use the framework of giving context. What was the challenge? What did you do to resolve it? And what did you learn by the end of that? So you can see with a simple, straightforward question, that response is under a minute. But with a competency-based question, you can easily go between 2 minutes to 3 minutes for a response. Follow the structure and you would have answered their question fully. Let's look at the third type of question, which is a hypothetical question. A hypothetical question will start off with the words like advise, or compare and contrast, or distinguish, or discuss, or explain, or demonstrate or illustrate, or identify, and finally, what if? So an example of a hypothetical question would be, advise us, what would you have done if you uncovered a fraudulent accounting error? So it's hypothetical. You haven't been in this situation, or maybe you have. And if you have, by the way, then you follow the competency-based approach of context, explain the challenge, what you did to resolve it, and the final outcome of it. But if it really is hypothetical and you haven't been in this situation, this is the approach and structure for your answer. You would first ask your interviewer to confirm the conditions that exist. So you would ask them, okay, so this is me uncovering a fraudulent accounting error. Am I working on my own, or am I working as part of a team? So basically you confirm the conditions that this has taken place. Maybe you could ask them other conditions. As an example, did this occur at year end? Did it just happen after year end? Is it a listed company that I've uncovered this fraud in, or is it a private company? Sometimes the interviewer would give you a little bit more detail, and sometimes they don't. They might just say, that's the question, you respond to it. So let's assume that they have given you some conditions. That's step one. Step two is to add your own assumptions in addition to their condition. So it sounds something like, so you have given me the situation of I've uncover this fraudulent activity. I am working with a group of 3 people, and I have uncovered this at the year end in a listed company. In addition to that, I am also going to assume that. And so you come up with your own list of assumptions. Why do you do that? When you add your own list of assumptions, you're then bringing your own experience into it, your own background and your own understanding of what you could have done in that situation. And once you do that, step number 3 is then you answer the question based on their condition, your added assumptions, giving an overall summary to that answer. How long should that response be? Again, around 1 to 2 minutes, nothing longer, I don't think, unless it's needed. And there you have it. Those are the 3 types of questions that you could get asked in an interview. Simple, straightforward questions, competency-based questions, or hypothetical questions. Now I know there's a lot of different types of questions that you could get asked in an interview. And what I've done for you is prepared a report. It's the top 300 interview questions that you most likely will get asked in an interview. And this is available as a downloadable resource for you. I'm going to ask you to download this and to go through these questions on your own before your next interview. Once you do that, I'm sure you will be able to recall experiences, remember different types of examples that you could illustrate in the instance that you are in an interview and you are asked this question. For me, I believe the more prepared you are for the interview, the more confident you'll be. I've had many delegates that have taken this report and used it as part of their preparation, and they came back to me and said, "Thank you. These list of questions helped me be that much more confident in that interview process." As much as it has helped them, I know it can help you. So there it is. Use it for your own advantage, and just let me know how your interview process goes. At the end of it, it's for me to help you get started on your journey and to help you get that position. That concludes this particular lecture. I'll see you on the next lecture, where I'll teach you how to be engaging in your interview process. I'll also talk to you about psychometric testing. I'll see you on that next lecture.